So we have talked a lot about if Major League Soccer has capitalized on the 2026 World Cup, or were they prepared for it to maximize all their opportunities and avenues to make this a top league in the world. Now, I'm sure some of you are probably exhausted talking about it, but there could be some light at the end of the tunnel. There was a article recently dropped yesterday by Ben Strauss talking about Major League Soccer capitalizing on the opportunity and getting quotes from executives, Don Garber, and owners about what they would like to see next in Major League Soccer and what they think is going to happen next, from raising the salary cap to media rights deal, all these different things. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to share this article. We're going to read it piece by piece, and I'm going to give my take on what it means. And I'm curious to see what you guys think it means. But this is a positive sign, I think. So we'll get into it. So, hey, real quick, if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're growing like crazy. The World Cup is among us, and we have a lot of content you guys are not going to want to miss. So also make sure you guys hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. This was one of the snippets that says, the old joke is that soccer has been the sport of the future here for a generation. When David Beckham arrived at MLS in 2007, Sports Illustrated ran a headline on the cover, will he change the fate of American soccer? This World Cup, though, really has been something different. In the United States, more than 50 million people watched the men's national team lose to Belgium in the round of 16. I never thought a round of 16 World Cup game could get TV ratings like the NFL Conference Championship games, Garber said. More than 60 million watched the final, the most ever for a soccer telecast in the United States. Now MLS wants to capitalize. In recent weeks, the league dropped tens of millions of dollars on an ad campaign with this tagline, "Thanks World, we'll take it from here." We've talked about that, a little disappointed, but that's neither here nor there. It has appeared on TV and across digital platforms and marks the largest marketing outlay in its history. By the way, I shared that ad on my video and they blocked it and made me delete it. But whatever, that was free publicity, but whatever, free advertisement. The league said during the World Cup, teams threw in watch parties that drew tens of thousands of people, and thousands more took teams up on free ticket promotions. MLS is touting that its 45 players on the World Cup roster played more than 8,000 minutes in the 2026 World Cup. Most of any league outside top five, and then it's flipping its calendar in 2027. But as soccer world retreats from the U.S., the paradox of the MLS remains. Sportico estimated the league has 18 of the top 50 most valuable soccer teams in the entire world, with several eclipsing 1 billion. Inter Miami, the most valuable team in MLS at 1.45 billion. Real Madrid is the most expensive soccer team in the world at 7.7 billion, right? And they also have the 10th highest quality league in the world. That's what it's been ranked according to global football rankings. MLS then finds itself at a crossroads. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting. Is the path forward to be a real estate holding company that fills stadiums and offers a great game day experience, similar in some ways to minor league baseball, or should it buck its own history and lay out more cash for better players in search of a richer media rights deal? And fundamentally, are those two options, better cash flow and better soccer, diametrically opposed? 6 league executives told ESPN they are furiously debating these questions, knowing there is a risk either way. Investing does not bring sure returns, but staying the course could risk those precious valuations and losing American soccer market to someone else. Literally, they're doing the Premier League is doing a watch party kickoff for the 2026-2027 season across a host of cities to get people engaged in the Premier League. They have to capitalize now, or they potentially lose out on getting some of these casual fans to watch their league. Inside the league offices, Garber remains internally bullish. At an event at the league headquarters ahead of the World Cup final, he told a group of 250 reporters, "I'd rather be us than any other soccer league in the world." I don't agree with that. I strongly do disagree with that at this moment. Okay. And it just talks about Don Garber being the commissioner since 1999, and someone sent him a book for soccer for dummies, and he said he did read it, and then just talking about his journey going through. But this is where it really gets important here. Okay, Garber will step down as the commissioner at the end of 2027, but his journey makes for a good window into MLS and its unique place in sports. The league was launched as a condition of the United States hosting the World Cup in 1994, as a single entity business, which means team owners each own a piece of the league and players are contracted by the league rather than the individual teams. The clubs still play the player salary. So this was done to ensure cooperation among owners and financial stability. There would be no relegation, unlike in other major soccer leagues, funded in part by NFL luminaries like Kraft and Lamar Hunt. The league hewed closely to two pillars of NFL's ethos: parity among clubs and strict salary cap, which I am 100% against, and we'll get into that in a second. That strategy has, in many ways, been good business for early investors. They talk about real estate and making some stability, and then how Mexico has, also adapted the system and the designated player, which was created in 2007 for David Beckham, and how they signed players like Thierry Henry, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Let's see. They talk about valuations, expansion fees, how they went up a lot. Like the Toronto FC paid $10 million in 2007. San Diego FC paid $500 million a couple years ago. And then talking about how Penn, his accounting firm, recently found that pre-tax losses among top flight Premier League clubs rose to 135 million pounds in 23-24 season to 948 million pounds in the 24-25 season, driven largely by player spending. Asking Garber what excites him most about the future of the league. His first points to the version of demographics is destiny. The average age of MLS fans is 39. It's the youngest of the top men's leagues in the United States. According to the data MLS provided to ESPN, Research Vision Insights Decoder, it also has the biggest percentage of Hispanic fans, 28%, according to the data, the demographic most responsible for the population growth in the United States. And then they talk about just other like stadiums and stuff and just the future. But since 2019, MLS has added 7 new teams. That's good, right? I mean, obviously expansion going to different markets, but this is the problem. This is where this is the issue, right? This is why I personally think the owners want to get a new commissioner. I think that they kind of are disappointed with this Apple TV deal. They were sold a bill of goods and it did not capitalize on what they thought it was going to be. MLS has had a difficult rights negotiation the last time they hit the market. Without robust interest from the traditional networks, the league signed a deal with Apple TV that was originally 10 years, $250 million annually. Now, the catch is MLS had to cover their own production costs, which substantially eats at the fee. I've heard from a couple people it can be as low as $60 million annually to cover their fees, or as high as $110 million. Either way, $140 million to $190 million is not a lot of money when you're splitting it between 30 different owners, right? That's not a lot. Watching games required either a paid subscription to Apple. That's not true. You had to have the only way to watch it was to be subscribed to Apple or to MLS Season Pass. If you had Apple TV, you did not get MLS Season Pass. You had to subscribe to MLS Season Pass, which put an even bigger roadblock to get people to watch the league. You had to also pay to watch the league. Like, no one's doing that. No one's paying $100 a year, or not many people were doing it. Not enough to where it made it feasible, right? So this season, Apple TV got rid of that. If you have Apple TV, you're able to watch the games. And they also agreed to cut the deal to 2029. So I'm assuming it's after the 28-29 season, and they shortened the deal by 3 years. That's massive. Owners have discussed a desire for the new rights fee to be in the $400 to $500 million range, which would in fact triple the money teams are getting from Apple right now. Now, here's the very important thing, right? This is very important. I saw a lot of people debating online. Should they get this? Will they get this? Will they won't? As far as the money, it really does make sense. $400 to $500 million. This fee, or this deal that MLS signed was in 2022. Okay. And they didn't really have, I mean, some people would argue they don't have the appeal now, but I think they do. Like Messi and stuff, they definitely want to have some games. Like, will Messi be around at that time? No. But they showed that if you get the right players, people will watch. The Premier League is doing about 600,000 or 700,000 average viewers a year. Okay. And they have a deal with NBC. They're getting paid $475 million annually. MLS is probably doing, we don't know any of the Apple numbers. I don't know how much they're doing on average, right? But I do know that when they do a Fox Sports game or a Fox game, which they do once a week normally, that game normally gets about between 500,000 to 700,000 people watching the game. I think in 2029, $400 to $500 is very feasible for the league, and especially if they have the right person negotiating on their behalf. I personally don't think Don Garber did a good enough job of selling the vision of for MLS to these broadcasters. But if you have the right person, I do think that that can happen. Now, a guy named Nathanson, who was the founder of Fox Sports 1, got Fox the bid for the World Cup in 18, 22, 26, all these things, is in the running to be the next commissioner of Major League Soccer. This is the kind of guy who would be good to negotiate on the behalf of Major League Soccer for a media rights deal, because he knows the intricacies of the business. He knows how to make MLS better, more attractive, because he negotiates on the other side. So he knows what they want. So I don't think the $400 to $500 million is crazy. I think ESPN paid La Liga $175 million annually, and they're only getting like 90,000 views average on a game. I would say, if I had to guess, MLS, you took Apple TV and you took the Fox viewers, right? I would say the average MLS game probably gets 300,000 to 400,000 views. And that's every single game average. Now, Inter Miami, LAFC, all these other teams are definitely inflating it. And there's 50 million people that have Apple TV now. So it obviously opens it up for more people to watch. But I don't think the numbers are like horrible if you average them out. I do think they have to be up now, because when MLS was just on the season pass subscription basis, that means that only 1 million people subscribe. Only 1 million people is the max could watch anything. Now there's a lot more people that can watch these games, 50 million people versus 1 million people. So that changes the whole dynamic. Okay. So I do think $400 to $500 million is feasible. They just have to have the right person negotiating, and they have to have the right message and the right vision sold to these broadcasting networks. And it's going to have to be a collective. It's not going to be one. It'll probably have to be a couple different broadcasting networks. And then there's no major sports league, this author says, that does not rely primarily on broadcast revenues. Major League Soccer has pitiful broadcast revenues. They were getting paid $65 million annually from their 2015 to 2022, and now they're only getting paid $140 million. It's pretty bad. It is really, really bad. Which tracks value of players. Global market MLS players had the value of 1.7 million euros in 2014. That ranked 14th global soccer, according to the analysis. On average, the player values of the Premier League and La Liga were 6 times higher. Hey, everyone, quick word from our sponsor, FanDuel. If you're into soccer like I am, you already know how exciting La Liga, the Premier League, and MLS matches can get. With FanDuel, you can make it even more fun by placing bets on your favorite teams and matches across all 3 leagues. Whether it's a Premier League showdown, a La Liga thriller, or an MLS game with your local club, FanDuel makes it easy and exciting to bet on what you watch. Just remember, you have to be 21 years or older to play. Please bet responsibly and only if you're of legal age and in a state where it's allowed. Download the FanDuel app or head over to fanduel.com, sign up, and get in on the action. Thanks for supporting the channel through FanDuel. Italy's Serie A was 5 times larger. Germany's and France's were about 4 times higher. Analysis shows MLS was behind Liga MX and 30% below the Saudi Pro League and the Belgian Jupiler, which is the Belgian Pro League, and even the English second division, the Championship, and the Dutch Eredivisie had values of 50% higher. So, yes, this is another issue. Now, this is another thing that's very important. The current salary cap is around $6.4 million per team, but allows for additional spending. Most teams' payrolls sit between $13 million and $20 million, and Inter Miami's exceeds $46 million. Multiple stakeholders said the league is sifting through proposals that would put in a simpler cap and floor system that could range anywhere from $15 million to $30 million with additional flexibility for star players. This would be incredible. Absolutely incredible. If we had a MLS salary cap floor of 15 million and a cap of 30 million, plus having our DP spots, the league would be top 6 within 3 years. I'm not even joking with you. If they allow them to spend more on transfer fees. Transfer fees have always been the issue. Yes, 15 to 30 million is good in a salary cap, but you have to allow teams to be able to spend money on players. You can't just sign everybody on a free or use all your transfer fee money only on DP players. Like, you have to be able to sign these players that are 6 million, 5 million, 7 million, 8 million. build teams with players of that quality. That's how you improve the quality of your team. They have to do that and be more flexibility. So that's a very important thing for Major League Soccer. But that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Now, there's something here in a minute that gives me a lot more confidence. CEO New York City FC Brad Sims suggests that the league needed just a handful of teams to aggressively push spending to benefit the whole league, similar to the top heavy leagues of Europe. If we had 6 Inter Miamis, I think the media rights discussions are different. One executive said that at a recent ownership committee meeting, owners discussed the merits of super teams. Listen, super teams aren't necessarily bad. They help elevate your brand. They do. That's a fact. I'm being honest with you guys. I'm neutral. I have no team in MLS. I have no team. I just cover the league. It's not a bad thing. There's going to be teams, if we're being honest, they're never going to win the league anyways because they just don't invest enough, right? The positive of this is that because the way Major League Soccer is ran, none of your teams are going to get relegated. So even if you suck and you're bad, you're never going to get relegated. You're going to still be in the same division as all these good teams. And a rising tide lifts all boats. If the Premier League didn't have their brands of Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, etc., they wouldn't make the money they make. You need super teams. And America has so much money that you can have more than probably most leagues would, right? Now, I'm not saying go crazy and just not have any salary cap, but having high quality teams is good, guys. It's good. It's very good. You know, if Inter Miami didn't had more flexibility, they would spend more money. They'd have probably a top 25 team in the world. Same with LAFC, same with New York City FC, same with the Galaxy. These teams would spend. Some of the smaller market teams with wealthy owners, which we'll get in a second, are willing to spend. They're willing to spend. There are wide gulfs among owners on how aggressively to loosen spending. Multiple league stakeholders told ESPN with the fault lines between early owners who have watched their investments grow dramatically and other owners who bought in more recently. One hurdle, multiple executives said, is most teams are not currently profitable. Well, it's one of those things where if you do it this way, it's just not going to happen. You're going to have to spend some money to make some money. You got to build a product that people want to watch globally, more domestically. You're going to have to build this. Some executives said that they are hopeful changes are in place by the end of the year. Now, this is the key thing. Some executives are hopeful changes are in place by the end of the year. Now, this is interesting because this collective bargaining agreement doesn't end until January of 2028. This is important, guys. There's a chance that we can have major changes by the end of this year. If that happens, I'm going to lose my mind in a good way. I'll be over the moon. I won't know what to think. I will be now. I'm still upset that we didn't do this before the World Cup, but my God, better late than never. This feels like something we've been sold a bill of goods that they say they're going to do and they never do it. They're just telling us to keep us around. But this is a positive sign. And then Merritt Paulson, the owner of the Portland Timbers, said, "I expect significant changes to the roster investment model, which will be simplified and improve the product. We're going to make changes to build on roster strength and depth, which is one area we've lagged, and I couldn't be more bullish." And we've seen this because of CONCACAF Champions Cup, CONCACAF Champions League, both of them, right? We have only won one time in the last 25 years because we just don't have the depth to beat these Liga MX teams. Are the leagues close? Of course they're close, but the top heavy teams in Liga MX are still just so much better than MLS, and we have to do something like this, obviously, to change the dynamics of how often we lose. We have to. Still, the idea that more spending on players is a silver bullet can leave Garber exasperated. Everybody wants everybody just to go spend more money. But there are teams around the world that have been relegated because they couldn't pay their bills. There are teams that have lost ability to participate in the transfer windows because they couldn't pay their bills. And he mentions about how Botafogo couldn't pay for Thiago Motta. Listen, nobody's saying to go Saudi Pro League on it. Nobody's saying to go crazy. And that's the thing. I don't like how they use this as a shield to like validate their cheapness. Get that out of here. We're not asking to spend Saudi Pro League money. We're asking to let teams spend a couple like $5 to $10 million on transfer fees on players. No one's saying everybody's going to start going and spending $80 million on players. No one's saying that, right? So I hate this whole facade of like, or just trying to use this as a shield to like protect the cheapness. Get it out of here. We're done with that. It's over with. They weren't managing their balance sheet, he said about them, and still have not been paid. And I think that's irresponsible and acceptable. Okay, that's fine. That will never happen. That's fine. We're not asking for that. Okay. And a common refrain across social media and podcasts during the World Cup was sports fans' professional newfound interest in soccer and then asking for an introduction to a Premier League team instead of an MLS team. And then he talks about how American soccer fans root for more than one team and all that stuff. And they talk about, transfers and all this stuff, right? They talk about what they want to see in the league. So the premise of this, I just want to show this to you because I thought this was interesting, right? I thought this was interesting that they asked executives what they think is going to happen, what they want to happen. They asked Garber, and what I took away from this is that they're chomping at the bit to start spending money, and they're debating, and they're all this. They're just trying to figure out how much they want to spend, and it's holding it up and it's delaying it. It's like the schedule thing. The schedule thing was supposed to happen last year, and they pushed it to this year, and they voted for it earlier, and it just took way too long. But it looks like they're ready to change the rules this offseason. And there's supposedly a meeting, I think, later this maybe next week to vote on some of this stuff. I don't know if anything will happen. Maybe it'll be later in August or September, because they have like a normal meeting with executives during the All-Star weekend, because all of them are normally in attendance at wherever it's at. But this is a positive if it's done right. They understand that this is do or die. This is like one of the this is a pivotal crossroads for the league. Spend money, grow the league, make it popular, or be left behind. And they are saying that they want to potentially have a floor cap of 15 million and a salary cap of 30 million, which if they had a salary cap of $30 million, that would be increasing the salary cap almost 5 times what it currently is. That's incredible. That's what we want to see. They want to talk about doing some other things like, getting rid of some of the rules like GAM and TAM, which is great. And then talk about getting a revenue deal, more exposure. They're looking for like $400 to $500 million, which is nice and dandy, but that's owners' money. I care more about exposure and letting people see the league and having more access to the league. Yes, Apple TV is easy if you have a subscription for people to watch, but that's not going to get all the casuals in. So like the next media deal is the most important media deal. And look, we know this media deal was a failure because they've changed it twice and they cut the deal from 10 years to 6.5 years. That tells me it's a failure. Why are you changing a deal if it's good? It's not good. It's bad. It's bad exposure. They changed it multiple times. It's not good. Okay. I'm okay with Apple TV. I'm an avid watcher, but for the casuals, it's not good. It's not helping the game grow. It's bad. Okay. That's just a fact. So if they get a good media rights deal in 2029, which is going to be essential for the commissioner, and God, let's hope it's a good commissioner, not Larry Berg. Let's get someone with executive experience who's negotiated TV deals. That's very important. Okay. If we get a good media rights deal with good exposure, and then on top of that, we can get increase the cap space, change the rules, simplify things, and I'll feel very, very positive about what's going on with this. And we'll be monitoring it the whole time. But this is positive, I would say. This is actually one of the most positive things I've seen. Like I said, I'm disappointed that it didn't happen sooner. Day late, dollar short, right? We talked about that with the calendar. This would have been a perfect time to kick off the new calendar. This would have been a perfect time to do the new roster rules. It actually would have been better a couple years ago when you got Messi to sign here. But I say better late than never, right? Better late than never. MLS needs to realize its potential, needs to lean into it, and it needs to be what it's supposed to be and what it can be. And it has a lot of potential in the grand scheme of things. I'll say this until I die. Major League Soccer has the potential to be a top 3 league in the world. They do. It's a matter of investment and making the necessary changes to attract players to want to come to the United States. And we'll see if that happens. But I just want to talk about this. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Do you like this news? Is it positive? Is it negative? Do you believe it? Or do you think it's going to be another falsehood? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon. And don't forget, MLS Moves is presented by FanDuel.